In this lesson, we look at deploying with the REST API. So far we've deployed to the graphical user interface of Oracle Application Container Cloud Service, but you can also deploy from the command line using the REST API. And it uses an application archive just like before, but we do have an optional deployment.json file, which I'll talk about in a bit, which allows us to specify the values that would normally be in the GUI. So the way it works is we make REST calls using curl, and we have three basic steps. The first one is, the first two are storage service. The first one is create a storage container or folder. Once again, that's the storage service. The second one is then we upload our application archive to the storage container or folder we created. So once again, that's an upload to the storage service. Then with our application on the storage service, then we can deploy our application to Oracle Application Container Cloud Service. So that third call there is to the Oracle Application Container Cloud Service API, which then loads the application from the storage service and deploys it. So here's deployment.json, and it's basically a metadata file that replaces the values we could set using the GUI. So you can see there I've set the number of instances. I can set up a database binding. There I have the MySQL database binding as an example. Be very similar for the Oracle database binding. And then finally, you can set your own environment variables if your application needs them. Okay, so in this slide, we're going to look at listing the folders we have in our storage service. So in this slide and the others, I have the curl command that we're going to use, but to depart from earlier recordings, I'm going to actually demo and lecture at the same time here. So I have the commands in the slide, but I'm going to use scripts to demo them. So let me jump over there to my bash shell. So if I list here, you see I have a number of scripts. So you don't have to watch me type and make mistakes. I'm just going to use the scripts. And like I said, the curl commands are actually in the slides for all of this. So the first one is I've named listall.sh, and it'll list all of the folders at the root level of my storage service. So if I do that, you'll see here I've got underscore apaths, and that's a system folder. So if you see underscore folders, that's what that means. Now you could get a 204 like no data basically if none of these system folders exist, which can happen. But anyway, either one's fine. But our apps folder doesn't exist. So that's what we're going to look at creating. So that's the first thing we need to do to deploy is we need to create our own folder. So I'm going to do a curl command. Notice I'm doing a put. I'm calling my storage service URL, and I'm saying create the apps folder. So if I jump back here, and I'm doing that with the create apps script. So that should create my folder. And it did. I get a 201 created. And then I'm going to do a list all again. And now I should get apaths and then apps. So I've created that folder. And just FYI, I'm showing all the headers for this, but if you wrote your own scripts, you probably don't want to do that. You probably would not include all the HTTP headers all the time. So just an aside there. Okay, so let's see, what are we doing next? So we've created our folder. So the next thing we need to do is upload the application into the storage container. So if you look here, I've got, I'm using springapp.zip. I'm using that just so that the command would fit on the slide properly. I'm still using the employee app from the labs in my example. So just FYI for you. But you can see there's the basic structure. I specify that once again, this is going to the storage service. I'm putting it in the apps directory, and I give it the name of my application archive to upload. So let's jump back over to our bash shell. Let's list our commands. This one's going to be upload.sh. So I'm going to go ahead and execute that, and I'm going to get a 100 continue. So the server's acknowledged that I've made my request. and it said more data is to come. So what's happening now as I'm talking is our application archive, which is about 10 megabytes, is being uploaded to the storage service. So that's all we're doing at this point. We're basically just doing a straight upload, and our data is being uploaded. And if it succeeds like that, I get a 201, and that archive should be up there. So I've created a script called list dir, where I can specify the directory I want to look at. I want to look at the contents of a directory. And we do that, I'm going to say apps. And so there is our application. Same one we've been using in our labs that you're working on in your labs. So it's up there and it's ready to go. So we've done our steps. Now this has all been to the storage service so far. So we've put that app up there to that path. And now we need to deploy the application to the Oracle Application Container Cloud service. So you can see here, I can specify my settings there. So I've got a bunch of stuff. And it's all the template information there's listed. And there's the curl command. But the deployment.json, that's where your settings are. That's where it gets specified. And then you point at the application, not on your local hard drive, but in the storage service. So in the storage cloud, you're pointing at that. So that's what we need to do so it'll deploy. And you need to look at, so this long URL here at the bottom is the URL I need to do to create an application, and you can find that in the REST API documentation for Oracle Application Container Cloud Service. So let me go ahead and jump back to my shell, and I'm going to go ahead and I have a deploy script that runs that big old long thing. And it has a similar, it reacts similar to the upload. Once again, I get a 100 saying, okay, got your command, now I'm going to process it. So what's happening now is, oh, and that went really fast. But what happened is it took my application and it took the zip, unzipped it, and just verified that it's in the right format. So I got a 202 accepted up here. So that means it took it, and now it's going to try to deploy it. So it basically does the validation of the application archive in this step. Then if it's validated, then it will actually put the application into the graphical user interface. And I think I can show that to you here. So what will happen is it'll just show up, your application, once it's past that step, will just show up in the application list like this, see creating application, and then it reacts just like it would have if I had done that from the graphical user interface. So that's basically how it works. So let me jump back to PowerPoint here and finish up anything else I've got. Once again, I just showed that. We jump to the application list. The application will show up there, and it'll behave just like if you deployed directly to the graphical user interface. Okay, so that covers deploying from the command line. We talked about it, so we use both storage service and Oracle Application Container Cloud Service. We make REST calls to both, and we get from the command line, we get everything up and deployed to the cloud. So that completes this lesson and demo.